Hey, it's Brian Goulet of the Goulet Pen Company and InkNouveau.com. Today I got a special little treat. Had somebody special order a Dolce Vita, and it's a pen that we don't normally carry, but we can special order it. And while I had it in my possession, I went ahead and emailed the customer, and they got the go-ahead to shoot a video, take some pictures, ink it up a little bit, and play with it, which was super cool. So thank you so much. You know who you are. So I just thought I'd show you the Dolce Vita, see what it's about. It's probably the most popular Delta pen and what gets talked about the most. So while I have it, I want to share it with you. Here's the Dolce Vita. Comes in a nice good sized box. I have huge hands, just for your reference too, in case you've never seen me handle any other pens before. This pen was a special order, as I just mentioned, but I just want to take you through it. I'm gonna handle it. I haven't really had a lot of time to thoroughly play with it because, again, it's not my pen specifically. So anyway, here's the box. It's got some little marketing goodies in here. It shows you how to fill the different types of pens, most of which are not this particular pen. And then it's got a little booklet in here that says, oh yeah, Dolce Vita, look at all these cool different pens that are not in this case. So there's that. The case is like a kind of a suede feeling case, pretty nice. It's got a little metal edge here, and blam! This pen is quite large. Now there are different sizes of the Dolce Vita. Let me grab their catalog. Okay, here's their catalog with a nice little lady writing on her face. Here's a Dolce Vita. So they got 4 different sizes of pens, and of course they come in ballpoint and pen and pencil, I believe. But the fountain pen is the only thing that I really care about. But anyway, they have an undersized, which is the smallest, the mini, which is actually larger than the undersized, which could be a little confusing, but anyway, the mini is the next size up. The medium is next, which is what I actually have right here, and then the oversized, which is, second for a club or a nightstick or a baseball bat. It's quite large, but the medium is what I have here. Things of note is that it has a 92.5% sterling silver accents, gold nib, all kinds of beautiful stuff. It's actually a pretty solid pen. Back to the case. The case is like this suede interior here. Really, really kind of nice. It's got a little card here that just says, this is all made in Italy and it's awesome. And then the pen itself, which is the only thing that anybody really cares about, right? So here is the pen. It's quite a beautiful pen. This orange is pretty distinctive to Delta, especially their Dolce Vita. Orange and black with silver accents. Really nice. The pen itself is very, very large, and I actually have my pen cases here with several other pens that I am going to compare it to. So let me do that now. All right, let's see. I don't really have a plan for which pens I'm going to show you, but I'm just going to kind of pick which ones are of note. So I have an M800, a Pelikan M800. That one's probably pretty important for me to point out. There's the difference between those two. Actually, let me kind of move this off to the side here. Okay. So there's the Dolce Vita medium next to the Pelikan M800. And for any of you who have like another pen, well, I've got an M200 here too. If you're familiar with the M200, boy, this thing looks like a tinker toy compared to this Dolce Vita. So there's an M200. Here's an M800. The grip section on this thing is what's most massive, though. Set that aside. The grip section on the Dolce Vita is just huge. The nib is about the same size as the Pelikan. Let's get it up here. There you go. But look at the difference in the grip section of the M800 and the Dolce Vita. It's very, very large. I mean, you can see just the extra material that's surrounding that nib unit. The nib unit's about the same size as the Pelikan, but it's all that extra stuff. So it's about a 13 millimeter, 13.5 millimeter grip section on the Dolce Vita. It is quite large. I know I say that a lot, but it just impresses me how large this pen is. It does post quite well. Even though it's a very large pen, it's not super heavy. It's probably comparable to the M800. I haven't exactly weighed it out, but it's not super heavy. Part of the reason for that is that it's a cartridge converter pen. So unscrew it here. It unscrews right at the grip section. It has a converter in here. It is a standard international converter, but it's kind of cool because it is threaded, which is ingenious. So it's got threads on the converter so that it actually fits securely into the pen, which is something that, you know, I would really love to see more manufacturers do. Monteverde does that with their pens too. But aside from Delta and Monteverde, I can't really think of who's threading their standard international converters. Lamy has, you know, the converter that kind of grips, that kind of holds in there, and that's kind of cool, but the threading is even better. So anyway, there's that. I imagine you can use a regular standard international converter in here, though. It probably doesn't have to take that threaded one. It just helps to hold it in there securely. So let's see here. Other pens of note. Those are the couple of Pelicans. Let's see. I've got like a Lamy All-Star. You know, Lamy All-Stars are pretty close in size to the Vista and the Safari as well. So there's comparing those two. The Lamy's a little bit longer, but the grip section, again, is what distinguishes it more than anything else. Look at the difference in size between these two grip sections. Now the Lamy's got that triangular grip thing going on, but the difference is still pretty substantial. The nib size is very good on the Dolce Vita, and even though it's a very large grip section, especially for somebody like me, I actually don't mind it because I have very large hands, so it doesn't feel too unnatural to me. And because the nib is, you know, like a number 6 size, it's a pretty good size. It actually I don't have to like hold it at a weird angle or anything like that, like you might think I would. Let's see here. What else have I got? I've got a Twisty Vac 700. That's a pretty good size pen, and a newer one, but you know, you may be familiar with that one or not. The Vac 700 is quite a bit longer than the Dolce Vita, but well, especially if you're going to be posting it, then this thing, the Twisty Vac 700, is one of the longest pens that I've handled when posted. So you can see them compared to each other. Ta-da! But then again, it's that whole grip section thing. You know, the grip section is just so much more massive on the Delta. But there you go. There's that. The nib size on the Vac 700 is just a little bit longer. And then one of the other pens I wanted to compare to is the Edison's. The Edison Hudson is one that I think about when I think about large pens. And the Collier too. I'll show you that one too. So here is the Dolce Vita compared to the Hudson. The Hudson is definitely longer. The Hudson is one of the larger Edison pens. The cap is still wider. The diameter is still bigger on the Delta than it is on the Edison. And the Edison's got like a contoured grip thing. So once again, you're noticing a trend here. The grip section is much bigger on the Dolce Vita, but the nib size is almost exactly the same, the length anyway. Okay, and then the last thing I wanted to show you was the Collier. Let's see, here's the Collier. The Collier is a pretty large pen too. Again, grip section is still bigger on the Delta, but the body of the pen on the Collier is pretty close to the Dolce Vita. So if you have a Collier, but you like a bigger grip section, the Dolce Vita would be, you know, a much more expensive, but still pretty close match. There you go. There's the Collier next to the Dolce Vita. So there you go. Let me ink this thing up and show you how it writes. Now this is actually, I must confess, the first time I've ever written with a Delta of any kind. So I will be extra careful to think of what ink to use. I could use a Delta ink, but I don't actually have one personally in my collection yet. So I have Noodler's Apache Sunset, and the color pretty closely matches the pen. So I thought that would be kind of cool to demonstrate. So the pen is a cartridge converter, as I've already talked about. It just unscrews right here at the grip section, and you know, it feels like any other cartridge converter pen. You just kind of dip it down in there, you know, completely immerse the nib, and then draw some ink up into it. Now I'm not going to be writing a whole lot, so I'm not going to draw a full converter fill, but that should do. Let me grab a paper towel over here. Okay. I'm going to wipe off the excess. Ta-da. Okay, there we go. Close up my ink. Reassemble my pen. My being a figurative term here. Okay, and this is a good size pen, so I can actually write with it unposted pretty comfortably. But I'll go ahead and post it just because I know most people out there post their pens. The balance feels a little bit better, a little more even with it posted. So let me zoom in a little bit. And the pen is pretty well primed because I filled it through the nib. The nib is nice. It's very smooth, nice flow. It's got a little bit of spring to it. The Apache Sunset's a really good ink to show the variation in nib when you either have some kind of flexibility or a difference in the degree of ink flow depending on your writing pressure, because it goes anywhere from like a light yellow orange to almost a red color when you're really dumping it on thick. So it's a really good ink to kind of show me what the pen can do. Solid continuous flow. If I flip it over and write with the nib upside down, some people like to do that, I can get a much finer line here, and it's actually pretty smooth writing upside down too. Of course, if you're going to do that, you got to really write with a light hand. But flipping it back over, you can really see the difference in that ink color writing between the two sizes. But it's actually quite comfortable. Very, very smooth. Very nice, I must say. I'm pretty impressed with the way this thing writes. It's definitely a large pen. If having a large pen bothers you, this pen will bother you probably like no other pen before. But if you have any kind of repetitive stress injury, or if you have arthritis or anything like that, this is a very expensive therapeutic type pen. But it's that's kind of what one benefit of the larger part of the grip section would be, is that it's a little easier to hold, and the nib is very smooth, and it's quite enjoyable to write with. So anyway, that's kind of just a hack assessment of the Dolce Vita, and I'm going to get this thing cleaned up and get it sent out to the customer that was so gracious enough to let me ink it up and try it out. Hopefully I've been able to give you at least some insight here into this quite beautiful pen. And before I do, though, I forgot to show you like all the details and accents on this pen. So here's the nib. Try and get not too much glare. It's gold nib. What carat is it? 14 karat. It's got the Delta logo. It's got the Delta logo on there. Really nice, lots of detail. It's not like a laser engraved, it's actually an imprinted logo, so it does look pretty nice on there. The pen itself, the threads are pretty shallow. The threads are not real bothersome at all. The material itself is somewhat translucent and has kind of a swirly, crystallized look to it. It's not coming across quite in the video like it does in real life, but it does look really nice. Silver accent here. The back is just plain black resin, not too much going on the back there. But then on the cap part is really nice. It's got this really cool decorative thing going on in the center band. There it is. I don't know if there's a name for this pattern, but it's very nice. Another cool thing is they have serial numbers for every single one of their pens. So that's this one, and then it says Dolce Vita mid-size, so you know what you're dealing with here. It's got a clip that's it's a bending spring, a bending clip, but it's got this little roller wheel on it, so it kind of makes it easier to put in and out of your pocket. And then it's got the Delta logo in the top. If I can show you, there we go. A little nib sticking out there. And there you have it. That's the Dolce Vita. I hope you enjoyed my little preview here. If you have any questions, you can always email me at brian@gouletpens.com. Thanks for watching, and right on.